Welcome, language enthusiasts, to another episode of Precision English Unleashed. I'm Thanos Megrelis, your host for today's episode, which is episode 4 and is the third consecutive episode about passive voice. Often misunderstood and sometimes underused, the passive voice is a fascinating aspect of English language that can transform how we convey messages. So let's dive right in. To start off, let's clarify what passive voice is. In the simplest terms, passive voice is when the object of an action becomes the subject of our sentence. It shifts the focus from who is performing the action to what is receiving the action. Sounds simple, right? But there's so much more to it. First up, the sentence forms in passive voice. These are your bread and butter when it comes to constructing sentences in passive voice. Now, let's time travel through tenses. Present simple passive. As in active voice, here we are dealing with habitual actions or general truths. Now, picture this. The law is enforced by the police. Instead of focusing on the police, we emphasize the action of law enforcement. Then, past simple passive. This is about past actions where the doer isn't our focus. For example, the masterpiece was painted in 1923. The painting is our star, not the artist. Future simple passive. We use these for predictions or future plans, as we do in active voice. The new school will be built next year. Makes the school the focal point, not the builders. Present perfect passive. It highlights a completed action. For example, the documents have been signed. Emphasize the signing, not who signed the documents. Past perfect passive. This is for actions completed before a past moment. As we do in active voice, of course, when we tell stories. It's a part of the narrative tenses, don't forget that. For example, the mystery had been solved by then. Shifts the spotlight to the mystery itself. And lastly, future perfect passive. Used for actions that will be completed before a future point. The book will have been published by May. It highlights the publication over the publisher. Now, let's rewind and look at some special forms, gerunds and infinitives in passive voice. These forms are like chameleons, adapting to their grammatical surroundings. Gerund forms, imagine a continuous action in passive. Being praised feels good. Focuses on the feeling, not the praiser. And then infinitive forms, these are about potential completed actions. The basic form, to be finished, and the perfect infinitive, to have been finished. Both emphasize the state of being finished, not who finishes the action. And now, a touch of magic with causative and impersonal passive forms. These are extremely important when it comes to conveying messages to other people, especially native speakers. It makes more sense to them. So causative passive, it's like saying, I have someone to do something. Just imagine, you ladies go to the hairdressers and you want to tell them that you want them to cut your hair. You don't go just in there and you say that I want to cut my hair, because the hairdresser is going to give you a pair of scissors and a comb, and she's going to say, or he's going to say, here you are, cut your hair. Right, but it's not like that. So you are going to say that I want to have my hair cut. Right, makes more sense. Of course, English people, native speakers, they will understand what you mean, but in order you to be more accurate and feel more confident with yourself, just say that, just use causative passive. So the haircut is the focus, not the hairdresser, all right? And the impersonal passive form, which is often used in formal or academic contexts. For example, it is believed that the earth is round. This example focuses on the belief, not the believers. But apart from that, especially in academic contexts, we tend to combine, the impersonal passive form with the reporting verbs like believed, accepted, calculated, for example. And these kind of, let's say, words combined with impersonal passive, they can be stressed or more emphasized by adding some adverbs, like, for example, accurately, commonly, widely, and we can say it is widely accepted, it is commonly believed, it is accurately calculated. And we can make our writing texts, academic texts, more interesting, okay, and more academically appropriate. With all these forms, you might wonder why and when to use passive voice. Well, it's about emphasis, formality, and sometimes about the unknown or unimportant doer. All these have been analyzed in a previous episode. In news reports, scientific writing, and formal statements, passive voice is a star. It shifts our attention to what matters most in the sentence, be it an action, a result, or a situation. And before we wrap up, a quick note on balancing passive and active voice. Remember, variety is the spice of language. While passive voice adds depth and focus, active voice brings clarity and energy. A good writer knows how to juggle both. And that, dear listeners, brings us to the end of our journey through the passive voice. From tense forms to special structures like causative and impersonal passive, we've covered a lot of ground today. I hope this episode helps you appreciate the subtleties and strengths of passive voice in English. As always, keep exploring the vast ocean of language and remember, every grammatical structure has its unique charm. Until next time, this is Thanos, signing off from Precision English Unleashed. Keep speaking and keep learning.